my friends, what's happening? If you're watching this, you made it to another episode of Coffee and Kernels. I'm Bryce, this is the Bankrupt Hippo channel, and welcome back to another great week where we talk all about the world of movies, video games, TV shows, and all the glorious things going on within it. We've got another great show for you today that's going to talk about a wide variety of topics. We're going to get into our weekly recap of everything that has gone on within the last week. We're going to break down some box office numbers. We're going to talk about the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. We're also going to talk about a couple of news stories that involve Scarlett Johansson, Letitia Wright, and other great projects as well. There's going to be a lot of superhero topics this week because that's just a lot of big news that's been going down apparently. So without further ado, let's get right into it. We're going to start off with our weekly recap. So Spider-Man No Way Home, the second trailer ended up debuting earlier on in the week, and to a lot of people's surprise, I guess maybe not to mine, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were not in the trailer, and I'll talk a little bit about that in just a little while. Other than that, I did a review on Ghostbusters Afterlife. That and King Richard ended up debuting over the box office at the weekend. So Ghostbusters Afterlife review is already up and out. If you guys are curious, it's on the channel. And my King Richard review is also going to be out hopefully within the next couple of days, because whenever there's multiple blockbuster movies that come out in a weekend, I have a hard time getting both reviews out really quickly. So I have to sometimes pick between one and the other. But take that for what it's worth. King Richard review is also going to be coming soon. Also, a news story ended up coming out this week that Letitia Wright's injuries on the set of Black Panther 2 were a little bit more serious than they thought, which has actually caused a few Marvel projects to get delayed out by a couple of months, including the resumption of filming for Black Panther 2, which will begin filming once again in January of 2022. I want to make that clear, though. They're not beginning filming in January 2022. They're going to resume filming in January 2022 when Letitia's injuries are hopefully recovered, and we wish her speedy recovery for that as well. And then also, Scarlett Johansson has been working on a top secret Marvel project that doesn't involve Black Widow. That's right, according to the Hollywood Reporter, Kevin Feige, I believe, is the one who spilled those beans. So that's very interesting. I'm curious to see what project that's going to be. All right, so that'll do it for our weekly recap. Let's start off this week with some box office news and results. Alrighty, this is for the weekend of, let me double check my calendar real quick. This is for the weekend of November 12th through the 14th. No really big blockbusters debuted last weekend, besides Clifford the Big Red Dog, which did finish in the top 5 in the box office, but not really a whole lot went down. In fact, the highest grossing movie was 28 million for that weekend. So really quiet box office weekend overall, but what were the top 5 winners? So in first, for the second weekend in a row, that's right, it's Eternals. Eternals debuted the weekend before last, and they still were able to hold on and win the box office at 27.5 million on the weekend. Now, I'm not really too surprised in this case, because it really didn't have a whole ton of competition going into that weekend. Clifford the Big Red Dog, although it is a property that people are familiar with, myself, I grew up listening and watching Clifford the Big Red Dog movies, books, whatever, but it's not a very big popular IP that people are going to rush out and go to see, and Eternals is part of the biggest franchise in the movie world right now, so it's kind of a no-brainer in my mind. And if another big, I think I'd feel differently if another big title was coming out that same weekend, because if Eternals came out maybe the same weekend, or maybe if in its second weekend something like No Time to Die came out last weekend, I think No Time to Die would have probably won out over Eternals. I don't think Eternals was strong enough to beat out another blockbuster in its second weekend, but take that for what it's worth. So Eternals wins box office second week in a row, $27.5 million. Coming in second, we have Clifford the Big Red Dog. Clifford the Big Red Dog made $16.4 million in its opening weekend at the box office. Now, what I think that this movie had going for it is the fact that it is recognizable property in the world of children's franchises. Like I said earlier, when I was younger, I read Clifford the Big Red Dog books, even watched some cartoons movies, kind of like Garfield. I had a friend in high school who even named his car after Clifford the Big Red Dog because his car was small and red. It was a Corolla. Wild times, that car was. And having said that, I don't recall there being a ton of marketing for Clifford the Big Red Dog overall. I recall seeing a couple of commercials on YouTube because I watch YouTube on my TV all the time just because that's where I get a lot of my information. And I don't recall seeing a really big marketing push. And the fact of the matter is, Clifford the Big Red Dog doesn't really appeal to the wider audience. Like I said, it's a very children, family targeted franchise. So that kind of limits the scope a little bit more. You won't always get a huge audience for that. Now, initially looking at 16.4 million, I thought the thing that would drag it down was the fact that it was directed towards kids, Clifford the Big Red Dog being directed towards kids. However, the more I end up examining some of these box office numbers, the more I start to realize that movies that are rated G are actually probably a little bit more likely to make a ton of money than those that are rated R. The reason being is because of the fact that when you've got a rated G title, it appeals to everybody. Everybody is permitted to go see it. And when everybody's permitted to go see it, you automatically get exposed to a wider audience. When you've got a movie that's rated R, only adults can go see it. Only those 17 and older can go and watch it. And by doing that, you're eliminating a family event. You are only restricting it to adults, and you are thereby excluding an entire demographic of kids. So it just limits the amount of money you can really make overall. And to me, when you are limiting your market, you're also limiting your money. And Clifford the Big Red Dog, by being rated G, it caters to kids. However, how are kids going to get to the movie theaters? Well, from their parents. How are their parents going to get in and watch that movie? They got to watch the movie with the kids. So by having a rated G children's franchise title like Clifford the Big Red Dog, you're automatically getting families of maybe at least 2, if not 3, 4, 5 tickets per party. So that actually leaves a lot of potential to make a lot of money. But having said that, Clifford the Big Red Dog only made 16.4 million, came in second on its opening weekend. So take that for what it's worth. I don't think Clifford the Big Red Dog will be in the top 5 past this weekend. And then now down to number 3, into the more predictable parts of our box office results. We've got Dune at $5.5 million. Dune at $5.5 million. Dune is still making money considering the fact that it dropped only 29% from the weekend beforehand. That's from November 5th through the 7th to November 12th through the 14th. And it's getting very close to making $100 million domestically. It's currently sitting at $354 million worldwide as of this recording. And my bold prediction was that after this weekend, I think Dune is actually going to fall to the 5th top, or the top 5 in the box office, but at the 5th spot. And I think No Time to Die is actually going to stay where it's currently at, but I'll get to that in just a moment. Now, the 4th place at the box office at the weekend was actually No Time to Die at 4.6 million. I got to give it to No Time to Die. It is hanging on to the box office for dear life. It has only been dropping like 10 to 20% week over week over week, and it's been out in theaters for a while now, since mid-October. It is now getting toward the end of November, if you can believe that. But it's really hard for movies to stick around in the top 5 for very long, and No Time to Die, excuse me, it's approaching 5 weeks of doing just that. So the movie has just a lot of lasting life. It's got a lot of legs. And there's probably several reasons for that. It could just be that the movie is just incredible and word of mouth is getting out to people. I gave the movie a 9 out of 10. I thought it was quite amazing. The reviews on the channel if you're curious about that. But Bond's also a really popular franchise. It is much more popular overseas than it is domestically here in the US for several reasons, because of the fact that James Bond is about MI6, which is a British intelligence agency. So naturally in England, the movie's going to be very popular. But I didn't know this. With last weekend's results, James Bond No Time to Die has actually crossed over $700 million worldwide. So it is the 4th highest grossing movie in the pandemic era. That's in 2020 and 2021, which is no small feat. I did not think that No Time to Die had made that much money worldwide until I happened to decidedly run into the number. And wow, because I mean, the film's budget was like 250 million, give or take. And now it's almost made 3 times that, and $700 million worldwide. That's just incredible, especially in the middle of a pandemic. So, and that number comes to us from Forbes magazine. So good times. I think No Time to Die after this weekend is actually going to stay at the 4th spot and barely drop at all. I think it's just going to continue on all the way through Thanksgiving and maybe even a week after Thanksgiving, because Ghostbusters Afterlife and King Richard, I don't know if they'll dethrone No Time to Die because of the fact King Richard is out on HBO Max. And whenever movies debut day and date on HBO Max, they tend not to make a ton of money. Just look at movies like Suicide Squad, The Conjuring 3, Judas and the Black Messiah. Those are just a couple of examples. But now, that brings us into the last spot for the box office at the weekend, which is going to be Venom Let There Be Carnage, which made $4 million. Venom 2, again, another movie just like No Time to Die that has a lot of legs at the box office. And for whatever reason, between Venom 1 and Venom 2, audiences just really eat these movies up and really make an effort to go out to see them. And especially helps since they're not out on streaming. But Venom 1 made almost $900 million at the box office. I'm trying to see if I wrote down the exact number. It made $856 million at the box office worldwide. Of course, that was years ago. It was 2018 before the pandemic was even ever expected to happen. But that's a lot of money. And now in the middle of the pandemic era with Venom 2, it's getting close to just $200 million domestically. Just domestically. That's amazing. I mean, there's very few movies that have reached that milestone in the pandemic era within the US. I am not sure what Venom 2 has made worldwide. Actually, I am sure they've made over $400 million worldwide off of Venom. So Venom 2 is, again, making another great run. And it's just really surprising to me because it's not like Venom is really, a very particularly popular character in the world of comic book heroes and superheroes and whatnot. Oh, excuse me again, guys. It's just impressive to me by and large. And what makes it even more impressive is that the critic scores for both Venom 1 and Venom 2 are not very good. They're like 50s, 60s, maybe. I don't even think Venom 2, maybe it's got like a 70%. I swear it had like 50 something. But yeah, it's like the audiences, for whatever reason, just love Venom 1 and Venom 2. And I wouldn't even call them great movies. I'd call them good, enjoyable movies. But for whatever reason, people like them a lot. All right, my friends, so those are the box office results from the weekend of November 12th through the November 14th. What do you make of the results? Any bold predictions for next weekend? Whatever you think, you know where the comment section is. Let me know. All right, so next big topic for the week, Spider-Man No Way Home. Second trailer ended up coming out this week. And how do I feel about this trailer? If I'm going to be honest, upon my initial viewing, I thought it was just kind of okay. There's really nothing that blew me away about the trailer. The one thing that had me in shock and awe was MJ falling, because it's not the first time we've seen MJ falling to her death, right? In other iterations of Spider-Man, like in Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, MJ was falling to her death at some point in there, and it's like, oh my god, like it's that whenever big characters like that are in any danger, of course it gets the hairs on your back of your neck rising. But other than that, I just wasn't really too impressed with the trailer. There are some other things I really enjoyed about it. For example, I really enjoyed Doc Ock Doc Ock seems to be more of a protagonist helping Peter than a villain in this movie. I could very much be wrong about that, but considering how much dialogue Tom Holland's character in Spider-Man and his two friends have with Doc Ock very cordially, it would seem like they're working together more of as like a mentor-student role kind of thing, which I like because, I mean, Doc Ock, he doesn't come off as menacing as he did in Spider-Man 2, and even at the end of Spider-Man 2, he kind of got a bit of a redemption at the end there, so to me it makes total sense. I'm just curious to see how that's all going to play out. And there's one thing I want to touch upon, two things actually. I'm really curious to see who's under the black Spider-Man suit. I've been hearing that it could be Doctor Strange, and that to me would make sense because when you see the screenshot in the trailer of Spider-Man in the black suit, he's got like those rings around his arm, kind of like Doctor Strange has, and it makes me wonder, is that Stephen Strange under that Spider-Man costume? It could just be Peter Parker, but just some food for thought there. Also, the other big thing I want to address too is the fact that there's still been a lot of speculation going on around the trailer and the movie in general, and whether or not Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in the movie. I have never believed that they're going to be in the movie, and I think the trailer really, really hammered that home to me. There's not even a hint of them in this trailer at all, and they've said repeatedly, Andrew Garfield even more recently in an interview, I believe it was on, was it The Morning Show? I can't remember what show. I think it might have been Good Morning America, but he said pretty vehemently he's not in it Honestly, he's not in it, and I believe him, and I believe him and Tobey Maguire. They're not in this movie, and I don't understand why everybody thinks that they are. Having said that, I know that in the Brazilian version of this trailer that we see Croc get invisibly punched by something. Nobody knows what. And just for grins and giggles and for fun, everybody's got a different theory about why Croc is getting punched in the face or by who. My bold prediction, it's Ant-Man. Ant-Man's got to be punching him in the face. Ant-Man is the only one small enough to hide and be protruded and pack that big of a punch without being seen by anybody. Of course, I kind of say that tongue-in-cheek because of the fact that if Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in this movie, which I don't think that they are, they could have just been CGI'd out, or whoever Peter Parker's working with in this case. So take that for what it's worth. That's my wild, crazy theory. Do I have anything to back up that theory? No, I just kind of like to take the piss and just throw it out, because if it's true, well then you heard it here first. But friends, I want to know, what do you think of the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, the second trailer? Do you think we're going to get a third trailer? I know I think we're going to get one very, very soon, because the movie is less than a month away now, and I can't wait to see it. So friends, what do you think of the trailer? You know what the comment section is. Let me know. Alrighty. So the other two small stories that we had going on for this week. So IGN published the story that I was reading last night, actually, after I got done watching my screening of Ghostbusters Afterlife, which was good, ladies and gentlemen. It was good. I recommend seeing it if you are looking for something good to watch. But Letitia Wright's injuries for Black Panther 2. She was injured while working on a stunt rig, if I'm not mistaken. She endured an injury, and it was a lot more serious than they thought. It was serious enough to where they've had to delay the resumption of their filming to January of 2022, and that inherently has caused actually a lot of different Marvel projects to be pushed back. And Black Panther 2, that was originally going to debut July 8th of 2022, is now going to get pushed back to November 11th of 2022. So we won't see Black Panther 2 for another year. But apparently the injuries that Letitia Wright has sustained include a pretty severe concussion and what they call the critical shoulder fracture. I don't know what that means. All I know is a shoulder fracture and a concussion, which those are two things that are not very pleasant. I've had friends who have had concussions, and they basically have to sit in the dark alone for days because everything hurts. Like, for example, even this LED light ring that I use to help film these podcasts and whatnot, I probably couldn't even film these with that light on, because the concussions, they just make it really hard on your eyes with light. And I'd probably be wearing sunglasses while doing this. So I really hope Letitia Wright recovers and that everything is okay, because that really sucks to get that big of an injury, but just want to put that on your guys' radar in case you didn't know. So Black Panther 2 is going to be resuming filming in January of 2022, provided her injuries heal okay. And then the movie, we will probably see it November 11th of 2022. So get well soon, Letitia Wright. That brings me into my last minor story of the week, which is Scarlett Johansson producing a top secret Marvel project unrelated to Black Widow, according to Kevin Feige. Now, I don't know, the one thing that the article mentioned, and it's kind of helping me put some dots together, the article that I read mentioned the fact that, oh yeah, Scarlett Johansson just got out of that lawsuit with Disney where she settled with them and made a ton of cash. It makes me question whether or not that this unrelated top secret Marvel project has anything to do with that lawsuit, and if this was part of the stipulation of her getting that settlement. It makes you wonder. I'm only speculating. I, of course, won't know that, and I probably never will know that, but it's really curious. I am even super interested to see what top secret Marvel project Scarlett Johansson could be involved in. Her involvement in the project, I don't believe, is as part of the cast. The article made clear that it was a producer sort of role, so I'm curious to see what that's going to be like. Could it be, I'm just going to throw out a random guess here, could it be a Florence Pugh's character? Why am I forgetting her name? It's going to bug the hell out of me now. Florence Pugh character, could they be doing a standalone movie for her, and could Scarlett Johansson be producing on that? Who knows? That is as good of a guess as I can provide at this point, but I'll just kind of leave it at that. So friends, what do you think is the secret Marvel project that Scarlett Johansson is producing? You know where the comment section is. Let me know. All right, so we're going to kind of get toward the end of this episode by saying the following, which will be my random thought of the week. I love having these random thoughts of the week because sometimes I'll just be doing dishes in the house. I will be eating food, I'll be sleeping, I'll be using the bathroom, and sometimes random thoughts just come into my head, and I feel the need to share them all with you. And my random thought for this week, and I even made a YouTube short about it, was the fact that in the world of Far Cry, I think Pagan Min is the most understood, the most misunderstood villain in the entire series, and is in fact not a villain. Pagan Min is one of the best, most charismatic leaders I've ever seen for being an antagonist. He is very calm, he's very adult, but he's also really fierce when he needs to be. For the example of in the very beginning of Far Cry 4, when he decides to shank that guard with a fountain pen to death when he does not do what is asked and required. And it's that's a very savage move, and that might scream discomposure, but the fact of the matter is he killed a man without ever raising his voice. He got a little aggressive and growled and says, "You can't do one job right," and he never yells. It's amazing. I've never seen someone get so angry and not yell and do such atrocious things and still maintain his composure. Only the best of leaders can maintain that kind of composure. And really, everything that Pagan Min does in this game in Far Cry 4 is due to his daughter being murdered by the leader of the Golden Path, which you figure out at the end of Far Cry 4. I'm not going to go there. I don't want to give spoilers away for those of you who haven't played Far Cry 4, but Pagan Min, you find out a lot of things he does aren't so nefarious and insidious after all, because he's just looking after his family, and all he wanted to do was help AJ complete his task, put his mother's ashes where she wanted them to be put upon her death, and then give AJ his kingdom of Kyrat so he can make it right. And just AJ, he just instinctively went with the Golden Path and didn't even give Pagan the time of day. Even when he said, "Stay right there, don't move, I'll be right back." And AJ just doesn't do it. Or does he? It all depends on what ending you end up choosing Far Cry. If you don't know what I'm talking about in Far Cry 4, look up secret ending Far Cry 4. Be wary of spoilers though if you do that. So that was my random thought of the week. I think Pagan Min is my favorite antagonist of all time, and I think he's also the most misunderstood. So take that for what it's worth. Friends, Far Cry has had its share of awesome villains. Which are your favorites? Whatever you think, you know where the comment section is. Let me know. All right, friends, so to wrap up this episode, I leave you with my weekly recommendations. Inspired by pretty much whatever comes to my mind throughout the week, I give a movie, a TV show, and a video game to recommend to you all. And for this week, in order, I'll start off with the movie. For this week's movie, I'm going to recommend to you all Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is directed by Edgar Wright and stars Michael Cera. And why am I forgetting her name? She is an incredible actress. Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She is also really brilliant. And Chris Evans is in the movie too. This was one of Chris Evans' earlier movies, I believe even before Captain America. But this movie, it's really whimsical, it's a ton of fun, it's something different, and it almost reminds you of a comic book in a really weird sort of way. It's inspired by a graphic novel, and I highly recommend checking it out. It's on Netflix, so for all you Netflix buffs out there right now, it's on Netflix. And this recommendation was inspired by my Black Friday shopping list, because Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is available in 4K Ultra HD at Best Buy for like $10. So you best believe I'm going to be picking that up like ASAP. Now, that brings me to my TV show. I actually have been hearing really great things about this TV show from several different places. I haven't watched it yet myself, but it stars Simu Liu, who, if you don't know, is currently Shang-Chi. And this show is Kim's Convenience. I don't know where you can find this show, because like I said, I've never actually watched it. I've only heard it recommended pseudo from other content creators that I watch, but Kim's Convenience, apparently it's wholesome, it's really good, it stars Simu Liu. What more could you want? Check it out. And then lastly, my video game recommendation for this week, which is actually one of my favorite games I have ever played and made me discover the Life is Strange franchise, is Tell Me Why. For those of you who don't know what Tell Me Why is essentially the story of two twins who have to uncover their past and why their mother tried to kill one of them. It's really brilliant. It's less on the side of gameplay and more on the side of storytelling narrative. And if you love storytelling narratives, you are certainly going to enjoy this game. If you're not a fan of storytelling narratives and you're more a fan of gameplay, maybe not so. But for me, this is one of my favorite games I've ever played. The story was just so wholesome. I really enjoyed it. The puzzle solving was not difficult, but it wasn't too easy either. So it fell somewhere in the middle. Probably erred on the side of too easy. But if you have Xbox Game Pass, it is on Xbox Game Pass if you want to play it. So that's the game recommendation for this week. And friends, that'll bring us to the end of Coffee and Kernels. Once again, thank you so much for joining me for another episode. If you like this and like these other episodes, click right here if you want to see more. I've been Bryson. Until next time, have a great day and happy Thanksgiving.